In this video, we will try to understand that how the total utility and marginal utility are related. So we already understood that total utility is nothing but the utility a consumer derives after consuming all units of a particular commodity. It is very important that every unit of that particular commodity are identical, and then only we can consider that how the utility has changed when he increased the number of units for further consumption. So if we take an example of ice cream, suppose we have taken an example of ice cream, and the ice cream what he or the consumer is consuming, all the ice creams are identical, same flavor, no change in flavor, same quantity, no change in the quantity. So these are the ice creams. So 4 ice creams we have considered here, and all the 4 ice creams are identical by the nature. Now here, to express the utility, we will use a unit, that the measurement of utility, which we call it as the util. That also we have learned earlier in the previous classes. So in this case, what will happen, that the first stick of ice cream when the consumer will get, then we are assuming that he is getting the satisfaction which is equivalent to 7 utils, or rather 17 utils, first unit. So very much satisfaction he is receiving after getting this first stick of ice cream. Now when he consumed the second stick, definitely it has gone down, because he already satisfied to some extent by the first unit. So here we are assuming the amount of satisfaction is 23. So the 23, if we are assuming, this is the additional amount of satisfaction, including the satisfaction of the first unit. That means the 2 ice creams together has provided 23 utils of satisfaction. So from here, from this information, if we want to deduct that what is the amount of satisfaction or additional satisfaction that the individual has received, then we need to deduct 17 from this 23, and it is nothing but equal to 6 utils. So this is the amount, that is the contribution of what? Contribution of the second unit. Likewise, if you further increase the consumption and he consumed the third unit of ice cream, probably the third unit, after consuming the third unit, the total utility becomes 24 utils. Remember here, this 24 utils included the 23 utils. That means inside this 24 utils, all the 17 utils plus the 6 utils and additional 1 util are included. So what we will do to get the contribution of the third unit, what we will do, we will deduct these 24, deduct this 23 from the 24, and we will get that what is the contribution of the third unit of ice cream, that is only 1 util. Now in this case, if he further increases the consumption, say for example he increased the consumption to 4th unit, probably the 4th unit will not add any amount of satisfaction, because he basically got very less amount of satisfaction by the third unit, and when he even further increase the consumption of the same commodity, that is the stick of ice cream, then definitely here probably we are ended up with the 24 utils. That means what is the additional contribution for the fourth unit? That we can deduct this 24 minus 24. So basically the fourth unit contribution is 0 util. What does it mean? This 0 util, how can we interpret this 0 util? We can interpret this 0 util as the satiation point. So here satiation, or the consumer are completely satisfied. He reached to the saturation point. So from here, if he further add one more ice cream, we are adding one more ice cream at here, one more stick of ice cream, that is the fifth unit. Now if we consume the fifth unit, it will not give any satisfaction, rather this fifth unit will give dissatisfaction due to too much consumption of ice cream. So here dissatisfaction. So this information, if we plot in one table, we can get the table like this. So here if you look at the first unit, you can see that for the first unit total utility is 17 and also the marginal utility is 17. So for the first unit on the graph also you can see the same, that for the first unit at this point the 17 util, the amount of satisfaction that the consumer achieved, and the corresponding unit is the first unit. Now as we move to the second unit of consumption, the total utility increased and it reaches to 21 utils of satisfaction, but marginal utility has gone down. So from 17, when he took the second unit, it increased only by 4 utils of satisfaction. Now the third unit, again when the consumer added, it has given a very small amount of satisfaction, which is equal to only 2 utils of satisfaction. Further, if the consumer increased the consumption at fourth unit, he received how much? He received only 1 additional unit of satisfaction, and corresponding unit, if you see that corresponding amount of total utility, if you see, then we reached at the maximum level of total utility. So total utility is maximized at here. Now here, how can we identify the maximization? Now if the consumer increased one more unit, that is the fifth unit of the ice cream, then definitely there is no change in the marginal utility. Means this fifth unit doesn't give any additional amount of satisfaction. So if you look at here at the fifth unit, you can see the total utility is maximum, which is equivalent to 24 unit, and the corresponding unit, that is the fifth unit, has the marginal utility value of 0. So when the total utility is maximum and consumer reached at the point of satiation, then the corresponding value of the marginal utility is 0. Now what will happen if the consumer increase the consumption further, means beyond this fifth unit? You can see that the value of the total utility has gone down and marginal utility here became negative. So if we jot down the information, then we can conclude it like that. So first point is what? The total utility curve can be started from the origin. Zero consumption of apples. Here actually in this slide I have taken the commodity apple, but in the explanation we have used ice cream. In both the cases the interpretation will be same. It doesn't matter that which commodity we are using, but definitely only one thing matters, that every unit of the commodities are identical. So here consumption of apples is zero utility. So here only one thing I need to mention, that here in this graph I started from the first unit, but in some book you will find that the total utility curve was started from the origin, means from the zero. We can start this total utility curve from the zero as well, because when there is no consumption, when the consumer is not consuming any unit of the commodity, means zero unit, then definitely total utility is zero. That is what is written in the first line. However, in our example we started the total utility from the first unit of apple. Again I am mentioning here, we have considered in our example not apple but ice cream stick. So second point is what? That initially as the number of apples increases, total utility also increasing. However, it is to be noted that for each consecutive unit, the increment in total utility has declined. So what we has explained here, that when the total utility initially it has increased, we can see that also. The same thing at here, that from 1 to 4 it has continuously increasing, but the marginal utility is continuously falling. In the previous video also we have discussed the topic diminishing marginal utility. There we have seen that marginal utility is ever decreasing. That law is called the law of diminishing marginal utility. So now again move to the third point, that eventually TU reaches at its maximum, and the maximum is happening where the maximum of TU is happening in our example, that is in the fourth unit of consumption. So the fourth unit, let us check. Yes, at the fourth unit TU reaches at the maximum. Then what happened? Then if we consider our example, TU has reached at the maximum and it is actually 24th units. At the consumption of the fourth unit of apple, but there is no change in the total utility for the consecutive additional unit, that means the fifth unit. That also we can check. Yes, here we can see for the fifth unit there is no additional increment in the marginal utility. Then let us see the fifth point. Fifth point is what? Fifth point is saying that the consumer consumes the same product. Now if the consumer consumes the same product beyond the saturation point, total utility starts falling. So if the consumer increase the consumption beyond 5 unit, then definitely we can see that the total utility has gone down, total utility of ice cream. Remember here the example, here in this example we have used the commodity ice cream, not apple. We have not used apple, we have used ice cream. But the same thing will be happening. There is no change in the entire concept if we change the commodity. So here also we will cut it and we will write it as ice cream. So on the x-axis, we have measured ice cream, and on the y-axis we have measured the total utility and the marginal utility. So if you do have any question, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you.